Thank you all for being here today. We had the Elephant in the Room forum here at Norfolk State University last year for a myriad of reasons. One of which was because I just kept noticing the way that we continue to be treated. When I say we, I mean people who look like me. And it's not always a color thing, it's marginalized communities. Mm-hmm. So it's primarily black and brown. But a lot of times, it's white folks too, just coming from a marginalized community. What does that mean if you're marginalized? That means that you're not on the other side of the margin. In my travels, I've been blessed to see, blessed to work with a lot of companies and have really amazing partnerships. And what I learned from them is that, diversity, equity, and inclusion is so important to them. But then when you come here, the way that they treat people from marginalized communities, treat them as the problem. But I've been in boardrooms and I've seen mood boards where what is perceived to be the problem is actually the asset for people's quarterly earnings. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, I don't get why you treat us like this. And it's a lot of the small businesses here. It's not all of them, but it's some of them. And they have this attitude. I often say, there's this really simple litmus test. When you ask somebody, you say, okay, small business owner, would your company accept a black dollar? And they would say, yes, sure, of course. Okay, would your company accept a transgender dollar? And depending on who it is, they may pause for a second, but they would eventually say yes. Then you ask them, okay, well, what if would your company accept an undocumented worker's dollar? Well, then they would really pause, right? Because you probably have some of them working at your company and you're paying them under the table, mm-hmm. but you know that you're out there in the voting booth, voting against them. Mm-hmm. That means you don't get it. But then when I say to them, hey, what if your company no longer had access to the African American dollar? And what if your company no longer had access to the LGBTQIA dollar? Mm-hmm. Or what if your company no longer had access to the undocumented workers dollar? In other words, can your company survive solely on the way that you vote? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is no, then there's a business case. Mm-hmm. And I can't keep asking you guys, I gotta show you guys. So we organized the Elephant in the Room forum, and it happened to be right around the time that voting time was coming up. So some of our beloved Republican siblings, I didn't want them to feel offended by calling it Elephant in the Room. So we decided, let's just change that language, because, by the way, we can't have this conversation with just Democrats alone. Mm-hmm. We can't have it with Democrats and Republicans. We believe it or not, we even have to get right-wing people in the room. And we got to get neo-crazy liberal people in the room. You want to know why? Because everybody is Virginian. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be here. And you got to make it equitable for everybody. And you don't have to like me. You don't have to vote how I vote. You don't have to eat my food. Your kids can do my dances. That's fine. But you don't have to like anything. But like and enjoy the fact that we're Virginians, and we got to make an environment and a community that's equitable for everybody. So we changed it from Elephant in the Room to Mighty Dream. And that was to welcome everybody. At that time, we had, a total of assets under management was about maybe 13 trillion. This year, we have north of 56 trillion over these 3 days. $56 trillion. Now, that is for a couple of things. One, it's for these big companies, Fortune 500 companies, fintech companies, financial institutions, for them to come and see that the 757 is viable and that there is so much untapped potential here. The other thing is for our youth to come and get inspired, for them to see, oh man, I could possibly do that. Oh man, I'm in college. I'm sorry. I might change my major now because I'm inspired and I think I could get to this bag too in a very different way. And the other thing was for the local business owners who see the untapped potential as the problems, for them to realize that you have a lot of assets sitting here. And also is to set an example too for other business owners who may own hotels, or may own restaurants, or may own, have a conglomerate of like a great portfolio here locally. For them to see, okay, listen, either start your own forum or come join this one. Like, there's room under the sun for everyone. Stop hoarding everything. I know you guys are seeing it. I know you're seeing the same owners of all these places, and yes, they chase out black businesses, yes, but it's so much deeper than that. Because before you can even chase us out, if you are creating a system that discourages young black and brown geniuses from ever thinking that they could ever have their own, be an entrepreneur, or be a part of a big, successful team, then that's an issue too. So my whole thing is like, listen, this ain't about me. This ain't the Pharrell Williams Forum. This is a mighty dream forum. Because for me, to bring this community together and have, 56 trillion in managed assets come and descend upon our beloved 757 to let us know that they see us and that our local businesses should be able to see us too. And to do that here in Norfolk, Virginia, that's a mighty dream.
So, when you're dealing with genius, you always have the feeling that, I can't imagine how a person sees so much of what happens, what needs to happen, and does something about it. That's the difference. So, Dr. Pharrell Williams, we thank you, we honor you, but I also want to say that he came up with Mighty Dream, and it was from a poem by Langston Hughes that was written in 1935. And if you know that poem, it really talks about who has a place at the table. That's really the sense of what you get from it. But I also love that it was 1935, and that's the year for Norfolk State University.
Yes.
Genius, always getting it. Thank you so much for being here. You took out a lot of time every day. We really appreciate you. And I just want to thank all of you for being here. I do want to get my executive team, the cabinet together, if we can just do one quick picture.